So what are psychic attacks? How do they manifest? And how can we approach this topic from the perspective of our spiritual evolution and our attainment along the spiritual path? So the foundation of protection is based in our, what we might call our baseline frequency. And this is the operating frequency that we've reached along our evolution. So if we look at evolution on the spiritual path as the refinement of the light that we emanate and that we have come into resonance with, that's a good place to understand this from. So how we have to look at this is incoming force will always break through our weakest links, whatever those links might be. One of the first places that these incoming forces break through is the unresolved issues in our soul mirror, the black and white mirror of the soul, as well as our health issues, whatever those might be. So that is the means of expression. If you have very low vibrational moods or emotions, right? These things will be easy outlets for incoming energy and mind substance, how it's being coagulated and directed. It will break through these moods and emotions. So these would be things, these low vibrational moods, emotions, like a general sense of victimhood, rationalizations, the constant need to rationalize how one is right in all ways and in all actions, any type of elitism, of arrogance, self-defense mechanisms, which would be all the rationalizations. You can look at low vibrational moods and needs as separative indicators at a deep layer, a deep level. And so these would be things as well like depression and anxiety and all other moods that are based on that. Usually depression comes from thinking that you can foresee what life and experience will be like instead of engaging in it, and anxiety, looking at the future and imposing the past on it. These are all projections, and so these all come from separative narratives. Now, when it comes to low vibrational habits, these would be the ways in which, again, these imposing forces will break through, right? The weak links. So you can break the weak links when it comes to habits into negative and positive, or what might appear like negative and positive. So low vibrational habits are what come out of the moods, what come out of the emotions, right? On the negative side, we have the ones that allow others to dominate us. So that would be typical aspects of distraction, substance abuse, whatever those might be, drugs, alcohol, caffeine if you're a real coffee person, though that can be argued. Gossip, these types of things where you're allowing the wishes of other people's needs, whether it's how they connect through gossip, how you might connect with people through engaging in substances together, binging Netflix and TV shows. These are all low vibrational habits, and these are all aspects of external sources dominating you, dominating your sovereignty to engage in your highest in that moment. So that would be the one, of course there's a million more examples, but that would be through distraction, letting others control you, the environment control you. Now, on the positive side, these would be where you dominate yourself and others, right? And both of these have to do with domination, just on what side you're identifying with. So these would be things like the tyranny of our virtues, and I've filmed videos on this in the past, so you can look for that there. I believe there's one titled "The Tyranny of Our Virtues." So these would be, just to recap that video a little bit, the aspects of ourselves, all of the good habits that we are very proud of in ourselves, and usually are accompanied by separative and hierarchical narratives internally. So things like exercise addiction: I am good because I exercise. These people are less good because they don't exercise. Maybe it's diet narcissism: I am good because I am vegan. These people are not, so they are terrible. I am good because I am a carnivore. These people are not, so they are worse. So basic hierarchical and narcissistic tendencies. Any type of elitism, this applies to that, whether it's Bitcoin elitism, if you've ever listened to those communities talk, or meditation elitism, or traditionalist in the spiritual world's elitism, any type of religious elitism, on and on it goes. This all comes down to, I do these good things, you are not doing these good things, therefore we are different. And as such, usually it ends up in, I'm better than you. And that's how a lot of this plays out. So the habits we engage in are very important, and our lowest habits will be the ones that these attacks will break through, whether it is of our moods and emotions or of our habits. And of course, on the health front, whatever health issues you might have on the go, these will be the areas on the physical body that these energies break through. And any aspects on the view front in terms of how the mind correlates and responds to different things, this will also be a means of expression. Now, what is a psychic attack? That's something that we need to look at. And we can break psychic attacks into sort of two types, right? And these two types can both be conducted by individuals and groups. The first one would be volitional, or, directed attacks. And the second would be more accidental, as in sort of the byproduct of an individual and what they're resonating with at the time, or the byproduct of a more collective group consciousness of a particular area, or religious sect, geographical location, country, whatever the group might be, whatever the community might be, a group consciousness within that. Okay, so when it comes to accidental attacks or impositions, these might be, for example, a natural empath who's, ruminating on why they hate you. And this will often be accompanied by, when you're experiencing it in yourself, you'll find yourself starting to think about this person. When they're thinking about you and wishing you ill will, it's very common that we will find ourselves starting to think about that person. They'll come to mind, and maybe it will be very, very difficult to get them out of our mind. They'll be like an earworm of a song, the song that never ends, stuck in your head. So this is, of course, why on the path of evolution, spiritual progression, meditation, focus is very important. Being able to concentrate is very important. Being very, very aware of any thoughts that are coming into fruition or dissolving out of fruition is very important. Being very knowledgeable and aware of our baseline tendencies, what we might normally be thinking about, and emotions we might be feeling, and what is an aberration from that baseline. So knowing yourself is very important. And of course, we could go into that topic endlessly. Now, when it comes to the group consciousness, this would be, say, if you walk into and say, you know, I do the van life thing, obviously. So sometimes I roll through towns that are, maybe they have much more drug use and poverty. You know, you roll through these kinds of areas and there might be a very dense astral cloud over the area. So how do you engage with that? Do you allow that density to consume you? Or are you able to, through your own sovereignty, sustain a relationship and a resonance to your highest attainment of refinement of light? And this is, you could look at this almost like strength training in a way. You're working on your abilities to always sustain that highest level of refinement, and under what duress are you capable of sustaining that highest attainment? This is very important and something that we need to consider. Okay, now volitional attacks, directed attacks, are obviously a little different. It's not accidental. Let's say if it's an individual, it's not someone who's just thinking about you and, you know, wishing you not the best stuff. It's where someone is actively thinking about you. Their mind isn't wandering and they're concentrating on you and they're trying to do you harm. And that's usually from a trained person. And, you know, this is something that, once again, we want to be able to recognize. So discernment is always very important. And then to be able to deal with. Now, there's a third type that's sort of half and half. This would be like when a group gets together and it might not be with the direct intention to do harm to an individual or another group, but it's sort of baked into the evolution of the individuals who are engaging in that group. So this would be like a lot of, you know, many like protests of the day, like modern day, are riddled with the desire for control, for imposition and hatred. And this is baked in. It might seem like a good thing. It might seem like, of course, like, let's say like the environmental protests, of course, who doesn't want to have a healthy environment? However, when a cause is being used, is being co-opted for the darkness of the individuals involved to carry out their own fantasies of control and manipulation and manipulation and imposition, that is an issue. So we want to be cognizant of this stuff as well, always looking at our volitions when it comes to any thought or feeling we might be having personally, when it comes to if that is internal to external, if it is external to internal in our little group you might be involved with, or the group consciousness of the, you know, surrounding area, the ideology that might be more prevalent in, you know, where we live or the circles we hang out with. Why is it that you think what you think? And why is it that you feel what you feel? And how are these contributing to the actions that you take part in? This leads us into the law of resonance. How does the law of resonance come into play in relation to psychic attacks? So to send negative energy, to send negativity, requires that we generate that harm, that contraction, that negativity within ourselves. We have to come into resonance with that which we want to share. Now, whether it is the accidental approach, the subconscious, just you don't have any control of your, or freedom from your thoughts, feelings, emotions. Freedom is the word there, not control. If you don't have any freedom from your thoughts and feelings, you might find yourself thinking and feeling ill towards whatever might be coming up in your environment, which is why awareness is so important. And if you have no freedom, then you will come into resonance with that negativity that you are thinking and feeling. You are generating that negativity, and that is doing harm to you. If you are actively cultivating negativity to send out to others, then that is going to be that much worse in you. And there's many quotes that you'll find that play on this topic. Like the Buddha, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So obvious, right? Another one from the Buddha, grasping a hot coal, right? Anger or negativity is like grasping a hot coal to throw at another person. You burn yourself, right? That is very literally what's happening. Another one, this is from Mitch Albom. He wrote The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, which is a great book on coming to terms with your soul mirror. His was, hatred is a curved blade. The harm we do to ourselves, right? So all of these are saying the same thing, that what you inflict, what you think you're inflicting on others, you're only capable of wielding that knife because you're also stabbing yourself with it at the same time. Me. So you can look at this like the karmic mechanism at play. And this is not necessarily always, sometimes we perceive it like a punishment, do good, get good, do bad, get bad. But you can look at this more like you come into resonance with the quality of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. That's the resonance that you're cultivating. And we are able to see that, the mirror of that, it can be, isn't always, but can be what comes back to us. This prompts our own evolution of the astral body. Right? And this evolution of the astral body, it's kind of like we shoot ourselves in the foot on repeat until we realize that we're the ones that are shooting ourselves in the foot. And then we recognize that and we're able to move on. So based on this, and based on the theme of this video being the attainment of our spiritual evolution, where we're at there, it's very important that we recognize that the pain the attacker's in is what's engaging in the attack, is what wants to do it. And as we recognize from our own self-awareness how much damage we do to ourselves with our own negative thoughts, feelings, and actions, we will then come to have some compassion for anyone who is thinking, feeling, and acting negatively, harmfully towards us. Hence the saying, hurt people, hurt people. So understanding of oneself helps us in a very powerful way to have understanding and compassion for others. And this is a big part of the defensive potential when it comes to dealing with negativity and psychic influence. Now, based on the law of resonance, the practical response to a psychic imposition, whether accidental or volitional, is to ascend to and find resonance with our highest refinement of light. Now, this would be more from a trained perspective. If untrained, basic goodwill, basic joy, basic compassion, minimum some type of understanding is a good place to start. Now, from a totally untrained perspective, if you don't have any interest in the path of spiritual refinement and meditation, there's another way to go about this. And that is to cultivate immunity to psychic imposition, mental and astral imposition, and physical as well, to a degree at least, is to have the highest quality of life that we're capable of, to put some care, some thought, some effort into cultivating the highest quality of life we're capable of. And so in that way, a high quality life environmentally instead of internally, environmentally stimulates positive thought, positive feeling, and positive action. So it's just reflecting from the outside in, and which of course turns back out again, instead of generating from the inside purely. And because it's environmentally induced, it has some very profound effects with, you know, a lot less, you know, personal hard work that goes in. Any environmental response usually lets us know what we're doing in a pretty profound and fast way, and we find resonance with that typically a lot easier because we're always looking outside to figure out the quality of what's happening inside in the beginning. So that's why this method can be very useful. And of course, bridge the two. You know, that's a pretty good way to go too. So a life that stimulates positive thought, feeling, and action. This would be, you know, you have a meaning, you have deep meaning in your pursuits. Maybe that is your work, your interest, your hobbies, whatever it might be. There's deep meaning in that. There is growth, right? Meaning and growth. You're growing, you're evolving. There's care for yourself and for others. You have good social networks, good friends who actually want the best for you, and you want the best for them. That's really important. There are interests that you have. So the meaning, the growth, your pursuits, your work, whatever it might be, your hobbies, your interests, you're so absorbed into them that they stimulate deep focus and concentration of mind in relation to higher vibrational states. So, you know, whether it's learning something new or working on a project that's for the good of a community or the good of your family, or just your own interests, or you're gardening and you want to figure out how to garden to help the plants be as healthy as possible so you can eat the best food, and on it might go. This is really important. Natural stimulation of focus, of concentration, that consolidates the mental and astral and physical bodies into something that is cohesive. If it's consolidated, it's in a resonant alignment, and when things are in alignment, that makes it much more difficult for you know, weak links in our mental and astral nature to be stimulated, as well as our habits, right? So based off a good quality life, because we've minimized openings and weak links for negativity to express through, we tend to have built into that, hopefully, a lot of good qualities like, you know, joy and connection and happiness and, you know, all of the good things. They get baked in. And that, of course, is an innate protective mechanism that comes from a good quality life. So this method, these two methods, whether it's from inside out, based off your spiritual attainment, or outside in, based off cultivating a high quality environment, these don't rely on any techniques, energetic techniques, really for, you know, the safety and the sovereignty to be sustained. These are a little bit more natural, we might say, and have to do with your personal evolution in yourself, and or the environment that you've created for yourself. So because of that, they're a little bit easier, and I would say certainly, well, easier is the wrong word. I would say more far-reaching than active techniques that require you to sense the environment or sense the imposition and actively respond. These are more innate responses that are baked into the life that you live and the quality of the individual that you are. Okay, so for training, if you enjoyed this, please check out the website, We have courses in Hermetic alchemy, Qigong, meditation, Tai Chi, and of course there is the Zenden, which is a Q&A video reference library. I also teach retreats, and you can find information as well on the website. All right, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this. Have fun, practice. Bye.